plates. Let's try it, see how it works.
A while back I did a review on the Beretta PX4 Storm, an interesting pistol with a rotating barrel instead of a tilting barrel. A viewer suggested that I should look at another rotating barrel pistol, the Grand Power line, and I called in a favor and just happened to be able to get a Grand Power X-Calibur. We're going to take a look at it. Stick around. All right, I mentioned the PX4 Storm does have a rotating barrel, which is an interesting difference from the usual tilting barrel concept. I'll put a link to that video up here. The Grand Power also has a rotating barrel, but a totally different style or design than what you see on the PX4 Storm. This doesn't tilt, doesn't give you any unsupported cartridge case area. Really interesting design, and let me tell you, it's a shooter, but more on that in just a minute. This pistol, or the Grand Power line, is actually made in Slovakia. This gun came out a number of years ago and has had a lot of good reviews on it from a number of respected channels, and I've actually looked for one on the internet, and there's several companies that will list them, but I can't find one. They're right now listing anywhere from $700 to $800, but again, every place I check, out of stock, out of stock. So I'm fortunate to have borrowed this one. The gun, by the way, is unloaded. Is technically a single double action gun. It's a competition type gun. It's not designed necessarily for daily carry, although one certainly would be able to do that. But there are a number of features on this that make it a competition only. First of all, it does come with not just 3 different back straps, but it actually comes with 4, one on the gun and 3 additional grip modules in the back that aren't just the back strap, but also work the side of the grip, change the size overall, but the texture is the same. The gun is fully ambidextrous, though. Ambidextrous slide stop lever or slide release, ambidextrous safeties, and by the way, this does come with a couple of different size safeties on it, so that you can don't have to have that big safety, particularly if you don't want it on the right side. Ambidextrous magazine release. Now, the larger button right now is on the left. Obviously works well, but there's also a button on the right, so it works either way. And this cams a stop down in the magazine well that goes on the front of the magazine as opposed to the side, so you can work it either way. 15 round magazine. It does come with 2 of them. They're metal magazines. They're nicely tapered, so you don't need much of a mag well. It finds its way in there, well, that wasn't, but it finds its way in there fairly well, because there isn't a lot of mag well on this particular gun. But again, competition model. It's, as I said, it's single and double action, so let's talk about the trigger for just a minute. Safety, pull the trigger, hammer doesn't fire. It is hammer fired, of course, not striker fired. But there's no decocking mechanism on this, so if you want to get it in double action mode, obviously you have to carefully release the hammer with the trigger, take your finger off the trigger as you're holding the hammer, let the hammer go forward, and then you've got double action with about an 8-pound pull on it, but it's a smooth, constant, steady pull. Not bad at all. And of course, after the first shot, you're in single action, and single action on this is actually where I had some learning curve with this particular gun. I'll roll some footage here that it shows some struggles I had with it, mainly because it's so light. This trigger comes in at less than 2 pounds, and there were a couple of times that I inadvertently double tapped with this pistol. So again, light trigger. There is no over travel stop. There's a slight stop on the back of this, and I can't see if that's adjustable or not, and it doesn't look like it is. There's no way to adjust it from the front anyway. So when it releases, let's see if I can get a good angle on it there. Get my finger out of the way, and when it releases, there is still some movement. There's a fair amount of over travel on this, but again, sub 2-pound trigger, very, very light. So as a competition gun, this would normally be carried cocked and locked. Great safety to get it off, and the safety is big enough to keep your thumb on top of it, which is a good feature I like on hammer-fired guns. Fully adjustable, serrated rear notch sight, the fiber optic front sight, and you get just decent enough definition between the two so that you can still get precision alignment. And we'll roll some shooting footage a little later in the video here that shows how accurate this gun actually is with those sights. It has a fluted bull barrel, and it looks like it's really loose in here right now, and that's because of the rotating mechanism on it. But it does lock up barrel to slide just as tight as can be, which also aids in the accuracy. They did cut the slide in the front in 7 places on each side, which makes it obviously much lighter, but also gives you some cocking serrations in the front or for press check. Very, very aggressive cocking serrations in the rear. There's no way in the world you're going to slip off of those at all. Again, polymer frame, and just overall a very enjoyable gun to shoot, very accurate gun to shoot. It does have a Picatinny rail on the front, and of course it's single slot, but that slot is in just the right place to put a light like the TLR1 on it. I'm not going to install that, don't want to upset the YouTube reviewers. Squared off trigger guard, plenty of room to get a gloved finger in there if you need to. Again, I'm not a fan of the squared off trigger guard. I don't shoot with my finger on the front. In fact, most people don't. I've seen a couple who can do it very well, but they do everything very well. Just not where I want to put my my finger. Let's see. It's again designed as a competition gun, and it would compare favorably to, well, we're not going to compare it to the Beretta because they're different sizes, different purpose, different philosophy, even though it has a rotating barrel. But it would compare favorably to the Glock 34. Again, completely empty. Tilting barrel design as opposed to rotating. Your typical Glock. 17-round magazine as opposed to the 15-round in the Grand Power. But size-wise, they're about the same. The Glock is got a slightly longer sight radius, even though the barrel length is about the same. Put them side by side, and these guns are very, very similar in size. Similar in width. Obviously, the Glock is striker fired, so there's no safety on it. It would also compare to the Canik TP9 SFX. We did a review on that one. We'll post that review up in the corner up here. And this is also designed more as a competition pistol, but again, they have a lot in common. The Canik is a little wider, at least in the slide area. The grip isn't any wider though. The barrel is close to the same length, and if it didn't have the optic on it, you'd have about the same, actually a slightly longer sight radius on the Canik. Again, a striker fired gun, no external safety, not as ambidextrous as the Grand Power is. And also this Canik TP9 comes with a 20-round magazine. It's labeled 18, but with a base pad on there, it runs at 20 rounds. So those are the general comparisons. There's some similarities in weights. The Grand Power X-Calibur with a magazine, 15 rounds in the magazine and 1 for the chamber, weighs in at 35.8 ounces. That puts it just a little heavier than the Glock 34 with 17 plus 1, which comes in at 33.3 ounces, but just a hair lighter than the Canik. Now the Canik with 20 plus 1 comes in at 38.9, with just 15 plus 1 to give it the same capacity as the Grand Power here, comes in at 36.8 ounces. Again, just a hair heavier. But again, it's a competition gun. It's not a carry gun. So this gun, though, is a joy to shoot. We shot it on the steel plates in an indoor shooting league that I run, and the gun did its part when I could do my part. The problem is getting used to that light trigger, and a couple times I did do a double tap, but once I managed to get it under control, I was doing fine. There was one time when I got the first couple of plates and just couldn't get the rest, and that's, again, that's me, not the gun, and that's just getting used to this trigger. Outdoors, same thing. First time I ran the plates outdoors, and at 12 yards, I ended up double tapping. I think it was between plate 3 and 4. Hit the fourth plate, but it wasn't where I intended. And again, it's just getting used to the trigger. Then when I settled down and concentrated more, I managed to run the plates okay. Took it out to 25. It hit everything I needed to there. Got the center of the silhouette out and back in again. So it was shooting really, really nice. Shooting standard 9mm loads, nothing fancy about it. No special target loads or downloaded or anything. And the gun it ate everything that I put through it. We took it out to 50 yards, and of course, I have to run it at 50. And I didn't do any double action with it because, again, this is essentially a single action gun designed to be carry cocked and locked, as I mentioned. So at 50 yards, of course, it hit the 16, hit the 12, hit both 10-inch plates. No problem at all hitting exactly what I wanted to with this gun when I settled down on the trigger. Too bad it's got to go back. I did borrow this, and I haven't been able to find another one to actually add to the collection, but I'm still looking. So the Grand Power X-Calibur 9mm competition style gun, single double action, rotating barrel, 15+1, nice gun. Just got to get used to that sub 2-pound single action trigger. So I like the gun, but if you like the video, we really do appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, we'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. Click on the notifications bell so you know what's coming up on Riders Range. Comments help us get noticed more on YouTube. Comments on this video down below are highly appreciated. Comments on anything else you'd like to see on Riders Range, or comments on things in general, put them to info@ridersrange.com. And we got more stuff coming up in the near future, so make sure you subscribe, click on the notifications bell so you know what's coming up. So the Grand Power X-Calibur, a Slovakian gun that shoots absolutely wonderful here on Riders Range. Thanks so much for stopping in.